All right, welcome everyone. I'm Kevin McDonough, and I'm joined today by Avenue colleagues Brandi Sanner, Marla Simmons, and Anthony Murphy. We want to thank you for joining our conversation about modernizing tax collection and how we can completely streamline how you collect taxes and also how you manage delinquent accounts. In today's session, we're going to talk about RevCollections, which is our cloud-based tax revenue system of record, an easy to use and flexible system that allows you to continue working and from any location that has an internet connection or a hotspot. So you're ready to continue tax distribution even should a disaster strike. And we're also going to show you our RevQ Plus application that gives you the ability to collect on any type of debt owed to your jurisdiction. So think of track, manage, and collect on your delinquent accounts, and doing this through automation and streamlining of manual processes. And in just a few, Marla will show us our cloud-based Rev collection system, as well as Anthony will show us our RevQ Plus debt collection application. And in keeping with our Louisiana webinar trend, we're going to give you some great content, and we're going to have some fun along the way. And throughout this webinar, we'd love to hear your feedback, your questions, concerns, or even local experiences. So please put your questions in the chat. And Brandi, I don't know if you knew this, but there's some inclement weather coming my way. It's actually planning to rain inside my hotel room.
If you're in Louisiana, that's very possible.
I mean, I don't know if this is end of days or what's going on. This is crazy, but so hurricanes, floods, and did someone say snow in Louisiana? Come on, you got to take us. You got to take us to school here. Talk us through these next couple of slides.
Yeah, sure, Kevin. So I don't know, how long you've been in Louisiana, but here when things happen, we're subject to shutting the entire state down for a number of reasons. Obviously, hurricanes, that's an issue every year. I'm sure everybody that's watching this webinar has had to close their office down because there's a tropical storm threat or something of that nature. Floods, Louisiana is full of rivers, corner to corner. So when we have a lot of rain, even if it's not a hurricane, sometimes we have river flooding and streets flood and we can't drive through that. Not everybody has a boat to get to work. So that might be another reason to have to stay at home and close your office. And of course, you see the Tony Sacheries truck in the middle of the screen. If you're not from Louisiana, you may not understand this, but we did have a big snow this year, like a historic, 100-year snow or something. I think I personally had 10 inches of snow in my yard. Insane. But we aren't equipped for that either. So when the roads ice over, like most other areas that see more snow than we do, there's ice trucks and things like that. Well, I mean, salt trucks. We don't have that. So we had this joke about the Tony Sacheries. Like, what do? Do we put king cake sugar on it? Like, I don't know what to do here. So these are just some of the reasons that Louisiana can actually just close down for business. And so working remotely is sometimes difficult, which is why we're talking about the products that we're talking about today.
Exactly. So this talk us through this, and this is great.
Yeah, this is a very serious quiz. I mean, this is where you're going to get the most of your education today. So please pay close attention here. No, just for fun. This is if Hurricane Holly hits Homa. Okay, Kevin? And I'm going to ask you for the answer here. So listen up. Imagine this. Your streets are flooded. Thibodeau Guidry is out playing Uber in his pirogue, but he's been drinking since the storm was still a tropical depression. Your dog is already wearing their floaties. Your neighbor's trampoline is in your yard, and it's distribution day for sales tax. What do you do? So I'm going to give you a few options here, and you tell me which is the most likely.
All right. So here we go.
Yep. Okay. Here's our options. Option A, do you hitch a ride with Thibodeau Guidry, brave the floodwaters, and try to get into the office to fire up your on-premise system? He promises he only had a couple of daiquiris. What could go wrong, right? So that's option A. Option B, do you join your neighbors for hurricane cocktails and just wait for the water to recede and then process distribution late and just apologize to everybody with the king cake? Because surely nobody will notice that. Or option C, Use your web-based RevCollection system, log in from your kitchen table by generator light, of course, process the distribution like a boss, and reward yourself with a hurricane snack and a sense of smug preparedness. Or option D, call your cousin who knows computers and ask him to VPN into the parish server from his Xbox and just hope he doesn't accidentally delete the database while looking for gumbo recipes. So, of those 4 options, Kevin, what do you think?
Well, all right. So you said there's only one right answer. I think we need a combination of a couple of answers that sounded pretty good to me. I know I've got some crazy family that could probably do D, but I'm thinking let's go. Gosh, we got to process the distribution like a boss, right?
Yeah, we do. We do. Being silly here, but obviously when things like that happen and you are forced to work remotely, we didn't even mention COVID. That's another thing that everybody got hit with that stick. This system is web-based and it does give you the ability to log in sometimes if you had to work from home. So yeah, even though D was probably polling pretty high, I think C is the right answer here.
All right, here we go.
Yeah. So again, some of the benefits of RevCollections, and we're just going to highlight a few of these, and then we're going to hand this off to Marla, and we're going to actually look a little bit, a teaser of what the system looks like. But obviously, it's web-based, so you can have convenient access from anywhere that you have an internet connection. It's familiar. So the architecture is based on the systems that many of you have already been on for years, sometimes decades, like Star and Galaxy. So you're going to have a very similar workflow and look and feel, the user interface. And obviously, one of the biggest benefits is it's a product that is in the Avenue family. So we already have Parish eFile, the remote sellers portal, Sales Tax Online. We're working with the Lust Board for the enhancements for the new Louisiana Uniform Remittance System. So being in the Avenue family when it comes to sales tax is always the right way to go. So with that, we do have Marla, and she's only on with audio. She is not on video today, but we're going to transition over and just take a little peek of what RevCollections looks like. So Marla, are you with us? Can you hear us?
Yes. Hey, and
thank you so much for joining us.
You're welcome, but how come you didn't have all of the above for that Louisiana stuff?
You know
exactly.
what? That would have been nice.
Exactly.
You missed the mark there, Kevin. You could have said all of the above.
Oh gosh. I'm like, okay, well, maybe. Okay. Yes. But hello everyone. Yes. This is a web-based application. And once you have your internet connection, you would use this login screen. And of course, we would set up all the usernames and passwords for you to log into the system. So this is our login screen. The images that we're going to show here will be high level. And if you want to see more, we'll be happy to show it to you. So Kevin, you can move to the next one, please. And these are our menu options. So again, if you're familiar, this is where Brandi was talking about familiar. You're familiar with some of our other applications. The menu options are much the same. We have added a few nice little features to this system that didn't come with the other systems. And one of them is an import applications. We do give you the ability to now import the applications into the system. The system will look and tell you whether or not you actually have duplicated taxpayers already signed up, and you can make the decision if it's a second location to go ahead and add that to the system. Okay, Kevin, you can move on. What this is this is our home screen, and it is our search options. Again, we don't have the drop downs showing completely, but what you would do is you have the ability to search about 20 different ways. Currently in our Star and Galaxy systems, we only have limited ways you can view, maybe 5 or 6. So this has become a huge asset when it comes to searching for things in the system. All right, Kevin. This is our main account screen. Of course, we're catching all of the pertinent data that's coming in. Also, we have the ability to convert any taxpayer data that is coming from a current system or an existing system that you might be on from somebody else. Along with this screen, of course, we give you the initial information from this screen. We also have tabs for the account details, which talks about how an account is set up or what types of taxes that they pay, because it gives you the ability to use one account number, but then that taxpayer may do multiple things for you. We have a tab for ownership, and that will give you the ability to enter in any contact information, any owner information. The history tab will talk about and show you the history of the taxpayer and what they have paid in the past to give you a snapshot of their history. We have account activity, which tracks any deposits that are made, and it gives you the ability to enter in any comments that you might have about this taxpayer. You can enter in manually. And then we have our converted history tab, which is going to be used to utilize information that is coming from a different system that you would need to view down the line. All right, Kevin? The main source of how a lot of this is set up in this system is we talk with each individual client and we get a history of what we call revenue buckets. In other words, this is the revenues, the tax calls, anything that you would have in your parish that we would use to be setting up, quote, columns, and how the money is distributed and what the tax rate is for that individual revenue bucket. As you can see here, we've used an example of an existing client and how some of those revenue buckets are set up with their tax rates and the effective dates and the termination dates. Termination dates are something that's new into this system that we don't normally see with the other systems, which I think is going to enhance the user ability. All right, Kevin? And as we know, within each parish in Louisiana, each client has what you call tax districts or columns on your return. This is where we set up each individual column, and we can start with historical information and then just come on down to present so that the system knows how to distribute the money based on what the tax rate was at a specific time, effective date, time in history, so that it knows if you had a 4% at one point and now it's a 4.5, it knows how to distribute that money based on your column and the revenue buckets. So a lot of this would be, again, familiar, like Brandi said, with the system. All right, Kevin? This would be an example of our compliance side. In other words, if the taxpayer hasn't paid their taxes, it doesn't see anything in the system. This is the section where we update on a monthly basis. Then we have the ability to, through step 2, to move compliance processes through the different processes that you have in Louisiana: delinquent, notice of proposed assessment, assessment letters, for example. And then it also gives you the ability to do a quick print of the letters, quote, notices or slash notices that you might have going out. This is our compliance section. Okay, Kevin? And again, that was a high-level view of the main screens. And if you want to see anything more, just reach out to Kevin and Brandi. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Marla. And I got to tell you, while we have you on the call, Kevin and I have been in the field a little bit this week, and you're kind of a local celebrity in the sales tax world. Anybody that we bring up your name, they're like, Marla is my go-to person. I love Marla. So I need you to know that. You're very well loved in this community.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
We were talking about
that.
I know you do.
Thank
I know
you,
you do.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. So that was our, like Marla said, high-level overview of RevCollections. We would love to show you a demo of the system. So reach out, let us know if you're interested in doing that, and we can get that scheduled. But we're going to transition now over to our RevQ application, and we're going to do that with another fun little quiz. Kevin, are you ready?
I'm ready. I want you to tell me about this antler lean.
Okay. All right. So we're going to give you another scenario and a few options to choose from. So this scenario is you've got a pile of old tax debt sitting out there aging like Aunt Lurlene's mystery gumbo. It's time to collect, but what is the smartest way to do that? I'm sure everybody has old debt and need to collect on that. So here's your options. Option A, you chase the debtor down on Facebook, figure out which bayou they're fishing in every weekend, show up with your cousins just to talk, and bonus points if one cousin is wearing a taxman shirt and the other is holding a clipboard. That's viable option A. Option B, hire your mama. She'll guilt them into paying faster than folks line up for free jambalaya. We had some good jambalaya yesterday. Option C, you can fortify your process with RevQ Plus, send timely letters, digital communications, track responses, and offer an easy to use online payment portal so folks can pay their debt without ever leaving their fish fryer. Or option D, disguise yourself as a crawfish boil coordinator, lure the debtors to a free seafood event, and then hit them with an invoice when they reach for their corn. So of those beautiful options, Kevin, how would you go collect your debt?
All right, so I know Anthony would pick D. I know that for a fact. Okay.
You saw him do it before, probably.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna go with listen. Marla had a great angle here. I'm going with we got to somehow work in all of the above.
All of the above. Yeah, I think all of the above is definitely something that could work and probably, could happen. That may be actually one of the methodologies here in Louisiana today. I can't speak to that. But the best answer is obviously to fortify your process with RevQ. And this is why we have Anthony with us today. Anthony, thank you so much for being on today's webinar. And he is going to show us the RevQ application and how it can be helpful for you as a tax collector or really any governmental agency that deals with outstanding collections and debt. So Anthony, with that, I yield to you, sir.
Yeah, absolutely. Happy to. So let's kind of jump into it. So I think that it's important to kind of understand the lay of the land of the collection space. So Kevin, if you don't mind, if you can kind of go one forward for us. So looking at the collection kind of space in the government realm, I'm sure we've all kind of understood or at least heard that government's kind of like a pendulum. So looking back at 2020, the COVID eras, the easy days of the collections process, right? COVID's happening. It's kind of a crazy, chaotic moment. We're not necessarily focused in the government light on collections, right? We're not reaching out to those constituents with that ugly word debtor, for instance, to try to drive the collections process. Cash is coming in. It's one of those easy days of collections. Now, fast forward into 2025, we have the DOGE initiative, right? So now we're looking at cutting budget spending. We're really driving the collections process because we need to look at what's actually happening with the dollars in our current state and local governments, right? So fast forwarding to 2025, we need to be a little bit more proactive in the collection space. And this kind of opens up the door for the conversation of what are we doing today, and kind of pivots into RevQ. And so RevQ, it was built exactly for this moment in time. So if we can go to the next slide, we'll kind of talk about some of the features that RevQ offers. So RevQ has an abundance of different features or outbound communications. But what I'd like to do is draw your attention to the middle of the screen here. Now RevQ in its crux has a workflow and automation component built into the application. So all the things that you see on the outside of this screen, for instance, like payments, text messages, traditional communications like letters and emails, as well as analytics, automated communication, and ultimately data integrity, will all be built into our workflow and automation of the application to help drive the collection process in that first 90, 120, or 180 days within that collections process, right? Ultimately giving you the power to drive the collections process without worrying about, hey, am I actually sending out things on time, printing out letters, and then ultimately trying to pick up the phone and call someone. So RevQ brings all that together in a single process. So going to the next slide, for instance, let's kind of go through the day in the life process of what it's like to have something with RevQ or without RevQ. So focusing before RevQ, 8 a.m. comes around, it's inbox chaos. I'm looking at emails, trying to figure out what's going on in my day, and ultimately just trying to get started, right? Just madness. 10 a.m. rolls around, and now it's time for me to start printing out letters, but it's chaotic, right? I'm all over the place trying to figure out who owes what and where to send things. Now 12 o'clock comes, lunch is around the corner, and people are calling me and saying, well, this payment doesn't align based off the letter I just got. So now you're having to deal with that type of headache. 2:30 comes, and now I'm just disjointed and confused. I don't really know what report is talking to what other report, where information is coming from. And by 5 o'clock, I'm leaving the day uncertain, kind of not really realizing what I've done for today's work. Now with RevQ, we're streamlining that process. I can log into an application, see everything at once right when I log in, then ultimately leverage the workflow for automated outreach through text messages, letters, or even voicemailing, for instance, and then real-time payment confidence. So we have an integrated payments application where the constituents can go log on and make those payments in real time. And then ultimately, I don't feel disjointed anymore by just clicking a single button and getting a report or a dashboard at my fingertips, so I can leave my day feeling complete and confident in my collections process. So with that being said, let's go ahead and jump into a quick demonstration. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Beautiful. So what you're seeing now is the RevQ application. Now, when I logged into the RevQ application, at first glance, I have that dashboard to kind of understand what we're doing from a collections standpoint, right? I could see my different buckets of aging, my current all the way down to 120, the accounts that are sitting in those different buckets, as well as the amounts associated to those accounts. And over here is just a visual depiction of what's on the left, so I get a bird's eye view into the collections process. The very first thing that I'm going to do is go into what we call our work list, or your WIPs, or even your bins, you might be calling them. For instance, I can have a bunch of different work lists associated to different collection clerks. But for instance, I can come down here and see who's working on what, or who I need to work on, right? So immediately I'm getting the value of where I need to pay attention and focus my time. If I were to click on an individual, you'll notice that Philip's account actually populates, and I have all the information associated to that constituent or that debtor. Now, this is really important because now I don't have to worry about all the different segmented, different interfaces or system of records where I'm compiling that data. RevQ is that single source of information, bringing all that information together so you have the tools you need to make decisive collection efforts. For instance, now I know the address or multiple cell phone numbers for that individual, as well as their date of birth or even social security, for instance. I also have a bird's eye view into the particular accounts associated to that debtor. So as you can see, Philip actually has 4 different accounts associated to his profile. And now I can quickly see the summary level and breakout of those particular accounts. So if I were to call that debtor, now I can talk intelligently about that particular account. Now, if I wanted to drill down to an account, I can get a little bit more granular on that search and start to see a little bit more of the underlying detail of that particular account. I could see things like the status, when it was entered, the assessment date, the aging of that particular account, and ultimately how we got to that new balance, for instance. Now, with all that being said, and we're going to be kind of communicating this through the different channels like letters, emails, text messages, or even voicemailing, for instance, what the constituent's going to see from their end is a payments application that looks like this. So when Philip logs on to their mobile device or a laptop or computer, they're going to put in their account balance or account number, for instance, and they're going to see all of the accounts associated to that particular debtor or to their person, for instance, Philip. So they can come into the application, either pay all of the account balances, pay an individual account balance, make a partial payment, or even make a payment on their payment plan. On top of that, we do offer automatic recurring payments. So if they wanted an automatic pull from their checking account or from a credit card, that's all doable within the application. Now, I would be remiss to say that one of the my favorite parts of the application is the ability to look at reports and dashboards. So with the RevQ application, we do offer various reports, about 100 reports out of box that you can leverage. And you can also build reports that look like this. For instance, I have a waterfall report based off of an account type that we're trying to track. Or if I wanted to, I can quickly pivot to a dashboard to give me an understanding of how we're actually running our collections process based off of current performance versus last year's performance, or how our payment trends are being tracked, right? So lots of different flexibility on how we can pivot and drive the collection process all from a single application. So with that being said, I'd love to give you more of a demonstration on this, but I'm going to pass the ball back over to Brandi and Kevin so we can kind of wrap up our process.
Hey, thanks a lot, Anthony. And a couple of things that stuck with me in that is that, I really appreciate the clarity and the words confidence that you used, and certainly that one-click reporting. I mean, for someone that really tries to stay organized, I can truly appreciate, RevQ Plus and what it offers. So great insight. Thank you. Brandi. All right. So are we gonna give this back to Anthony, or are you gonna walk us through this one?
Totally up to you guys. However, we want to do that. We do have one quick question before we get too far away from your demo, Anthony. In the chat, somebody asked, "Can I customize the reports and automation?" So, like, I guess how configurable is this?
Yeah, absolutely. So you can customize the reports as much as you need. So we'll work with you on that. And as far as the automation and the workflow process, we know that it's not just a one size shoe fits all. So you can kind of tailor those workflows to fit your guys' process and how you want to deliver that collection process to your constituents.
Oh, that's perfect. Okay, so while we wait for other questions to come in the chat, Kevin, you can take this quiz if you want.
Okay, all right, here we go. The parish council meeting was supposed to last 30 minutes. It's now hour 3. The projector's broken, the microphones are feeding back, and someone brought a crawfish boil into the chambers. Out of nowhere, a council member asks, "Do you know what percentage of Americans had debt collections in 2021? What do you do?"
Oh, okay. What percentage of Americans had debt in collections? Okay. You want to read those off?
All right. So, A, shrug, say 40% sounds right. Then recommend everyone take a break and revenue or reconvene at the daiquiri drive-through for further analysis. Fantastic. All right. So, or B, say 50% in your most authoritative voice, hoping no one asks where you got that number. And the spoiler, it was your gut. All right. Or C,
okay,
yell 20% over the mic feedback, then duck behind the podium as 2 council members start arguing about inflation and crab traps. All right. Or D, wipe your hands on a napkin, say about 30%, and casually pass the council member a crawfish tail like it's a data packet.
Oh my gosh. Look, I'm going to tell you, I've attended a lot of council meetings here in Louisiana. And look, Texas is not too far different from Louisiana with the culture of people. I've actually seen some very sprightly council meetings that some of those things might be based on real life stories. But I am going to go with, I really don't know. I'm going to go with C. I feel like C was a trend with the other ones. Oh, yeah. So,
all right.
and,
So yeah. So just wipe your hands on a napkin. Say about 30%. We knew this was probably going to be Anthony's bet, but I think again, how about mixing all the above?
Right. Exactly. Yeah. So is this saying that there's around 30% of Americans that had debt in collections, like private, like individuals?
Yeah, so exactly this is what this is saying. So about 30% of all of Americans in 2021 had some type of debt in a collections form. In essence, really think about it of being delinquent. So not necessarily sending to an outside collections agency, but for instance, sitting in that 90 to 120 day process of debt that they're being owed to some particular agency, for instance, state and local governments.
Yeah. Yeah. Got it. Oh, and so we already did the demonstration. So this is where we can wrap up, Kevin, because
sure.
So I don't know if we have any other questions. I'm looking in the chat. If anybody has any questions about either the RevCollections software that Marla spoke about or the RevQ application that Anthony spoke about, drop your questions in the chat now. We're happy to address those live as we go. Did we have any questions submitted in advance of the webinar?
So I believe we did.
Okay. I thought we did too. Let's see if we can.
Yeah, let's. Thought there was a couple here. I've got one that just flashed up. So it looks like it was a RevQ RevQ Plus question. Is it are you limited to the number of debt types that RevQ Plus can collect on?
No, that's a great question. No, so you're not. It's unlimited on the account type. So whatever account type that you're trying to collect on, it can be configured within the application, and there's no limit.
Okay. Okay, and we had another one in the live chat that says, do they allow batch processing?
Yeah, another excellent question. So yeah, this is very common in the collection space, and RevQ does have a batch processing feature within the application. So each collection clerk or analyst can start their batch posting within the application to handle payments or adjustments.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And just in case we've got some more that might come through, on behalf of myself, Brandi, Anthony, and Marla, we know you're busy, and we appreciate you spending time with us today. And if what you've heard today interests you, or if you want to learn more about how Avenue can help you and your jurisdiction with our cloud-based RevCollections tax system of record, or our RevQ Plus platform, which completely automates and streamlines your debt collection efforts. Our email addresses are on the screen. Drop us a line. And if you'd like to see a more in-depth demonstration, we're certainly excited to continue the conversation. Just let us know.
And if anybody stages any fake seafood events for debt collection purposes, don't forget to send the invite out to us, please.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, excellent. Okay, I don't see any other questions. Anthony, Marla, thank you both so much for joining us today and for all the insights. And I don't have anything else, Kevin. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, everyone.
All
Really
right.
appreciate
Talk to
it.
you all soon.
All right. Bye-bye.